Fluidity as a state of being. I really want to show you this book. It's my battered old copy, and it's an absolute classic, Sensitive Chaos. And Theodor Schwenk, the author, looks at how fluidity that shapes bark on trees also shapes the body. And it's really a meditation on water. And there's a reason that water is necessary to all of life. Water is what enables the exchanges that sustain life to take place. When something is desiccated, when it is without water, it's basically inert. The biology can't proceed. It's why dehydrated foods can just store forever. And our nature, our very nature, is fluid. I point to the fact that we are 65-70% water. It is our nature. It is the state of our being. And there are these habits that brace against it. Tom, I think, just posted about the interstitium. It's recently been discovered. It was believed that we had two sort of circulatory systems in the body that transferred nutrients and took away wastes and facilitated exchanges. Of course, the cardiovascular system and the lymphatic system. And now they found, no, there's this other system that we didn't know about, the interstitial system that flows between organs, under the skin. They discovered it because they were finding the ink from tattoos had migrated through the body. And they said, that's not possible. How did that happen? Chinese medicine has known about this circulatory system for years, and researchers found that when they put a bit of ink at an acupuncture point, it would travel through this system. Every life-giving exchange in the body relies on the body's fluidity. And then you look at the consequences of living in our culture. We are taught to brace against the world. And it happens in so many ways. The most obvious way to me is what we do to the breath. We don't open the body to the breath typically. Our phrase, take a deep breath, to me is really indicative because the head knows exactly what that means and how to implement it and makes the body do it. We engage our musculature to push the breath as deeply as we can into the body. This is unnatural, and the breath goes shallow again, and we tend to have a shallow breath, and a shallow breath does not access the depths of our being. So we are divorced from ourselves through this containing of the breath. And when we speak, and I'd love you to maybe begin to notice this for yourself. I'll speak in a way that I was raised to speak. And the way I learned to speak from those around me and generally from my culture, in that phrase, if I counted correctly, I stopped my breath 7 times. We don't notice that. We don't notice when we're doing it. And there's a reason for that stop, go, stop, go, stop, go of the breath. The breath discloses the fluidity of our being. We have been trained to consider those sensations of the being to be noise that interferes with our thinking, because we've been trained that we can think most clearly with that intelligence of the head. And so when we speak, and I'll demonstrate again, when we speak, as we search for the words that we need to find, I stop my breath another 5 or 6 times. We stop our breath to think, because we've internalized that when you really want to think, don't let the body interfere. My God, the body is an ocean of intelligence. And that That's our ancestral intelligence, our embodied intelligence. And it's something like 3 billion years older than the brain. The brain appeared on the evolutionary scale about 521 million years ago. For more than 3 billion years before that, life was intelligent because it had to survive. It had to find nutrients. It had to evolve. It had to avoid toxins and predators. And there, the nature of that fluid intelligence of the body is one that feels the world around you. And my gosh, what we have to learn from indigenous cultures, the way they feel the world around them, is something that we consider impossible. Plants don't speak to you. You can't feel animals a mile or 2 or 5 miles away. You can't feel the presence of water around you when you're thirsty. But this is something that indigenous cultures take for granted. I like in Australia, there's an indigenous culture that has smoke signals. And we think, oh, yeah, a Morse code where you're communicating. No, the smoke signal communicates, I need to talk to you. And so the person seeing the smoke will sit down and they will talk together, even though they're like miles apart. There is a sensitivity to your body that resonates to the world, and it is your fluidity that responds to those energies, that attunes to those energies. There are so many ways in which we stunt our fluidity and check it and compartmentalize it. I'm writing a new book, which some of you may know, which has me obsessed, but that's another story. And in the book, I look at some of the ways in which the Western culture deprives our bodies of their natural fluidity. So I'm gonna read some of these just to give you a sense. And these are culturally specific. These aren't inherent to human nature. They're not inherent to the way the body develops. They are trained into us by our culture. So, for example, the neck and the jaw and the shoulders are fortified to protect the head center of the self and buffer it from the unruly life of the body, in the same way that I think of a tyrant's castle and the way it encloses him from the world and protects him. When you live in your head, you want to protect what has the ability to permeate the head. You enclose it from the world. The way we see focuses on the foreground and neglects the background. And the foreground, what's happening up here, this is the realm of doing. The background is the realm of being. That is what holds life. And I think of those gorgeous Chinese tapestries, like of this detailed, huge mountainside. And then you look up close and there are these little tiny people walking up a path. It is the context, it is the background that holds and makes specific the life of those people. And if you were just to close in on those people and isolate them, show a little bit of the path, you would lose the sense of the present through which they're moving. And we're trained to see the foreground. We're trained to ignore being, which is the background, in the same way that we're trained to ignore our own being. The way to ignore your being is to take it out of fluidity. Because any tension in the flesh will desensitize it. Because we've artificially divided our thinking from our being, we tend to hold them separate when we're speaking. When we pause mid-sentence to think, for instance, we typically hold our breath, as though any sensations of breath in the body would interfere with the clarity of our thoughts. It seems to be a well-kept secret that you can think and breathe simultaneously. The face The face disconnects from our being. We use the face as a signaling device to display our emotional reactions suitable to the moment. You see someone and you're preparing your expression before your being has had a chance to feel their presence, to feel their being, to feel them through the body. The face jumps ahead and interprets the world for us. And that's another way of coming out of touch with the fluidity of our being. Focused as we are on the front of the body, we lose the tone and support of the back. And as it weakens, the space between the shoulder blades slackens and widens, leading us to hunch or round forward with age. So let me see if I can just demonstrate for a moment. If I just allow the distance between my shoulder blades to lengthen, this happens. And that's the position that we tend to grow into. And the back, just to say, I feel these polarities of male and female in the body, where in every instance, the female side of the body is denigrated and slighted and often cast into neglect. And the male side is honored and exalted and revered. We're familiar with right and left, where the right side of the body, I feel it is more male, and the left side is more female. Our word sinister means left. Our word gauche means left. Our word right means right. This is right. And, there's a similar thing for me between what I connect with in the pelvic bowl, that intelligence that comes into felt relationship with the world and feels its wholeness and attunes, and that brilliant intelligence in the head which pulls things to pieces and understands them in that way and systematizes and organizes. And both are necessary. But we have demeaned that, disconnected from that intelligence. In the pelvic bowl, we don't rest there. We live in our heads. And to me, it's as though we've taken this source of light and guidance in our own bodies and turned that source into a pool of darkness. I also feel a male-female polarity between the front of my body and the back. The front is where I show up to the world. There is half the world at my back. There is a mystery at my back that is there to support me. Whatever my next step is, that is there to support me. I feel ancestors at my back. I feel my mother there. I feel all the events of my life that has led to this moment kind of sitting there supporting me. And we lose the breath in the back, and we lose the tone of the back. Our neglect of the back also diminishes the availability of the back to the breath, leaving us in the self-consciousness of the front. So we tend to breathe in the front of our bodies. To open the back to the breath, that is where, as an actor, that's where the power of the voice comes from. If I'm breathing into the front and speaking from there, I feel very separate from the world and from you. And if I allow the breath into my back, it's like an embrace. It's inclusive. And again, it's a way in which we take the body out of its fluidity. We lose the fluidity of the back, and it becomes dull and stiff. The pelvic floor, which is a diaphragm in the body, tends to be held in tension, which casts the realm of the pelvic bowl into neglect, which we've talked about. And this disables the natural ability of the pelvic floor to support the breath. The energy of the self is not at rest on the earth, but tends to be lodged high in the body, typically in the chest, holding us in a state of perpetual anticipation and restless willfulness. Our knees tend to lock when we're standing still, which dulls us to the living presence of the earth. And because we're a shod culture, walking mainly on flat, hard surfaces, we tend to put those subtle sensitivities of the feet to sleep. As a result, the ankle gradually becomes deactivated. And you can appreciate the effect of this when you look at young children. There's a spring in their steps. They'll skip and hop. Our 3-year-old granddaughter is often on the toes of her feet. There's that flex. When you speak of a spring in your step, it's the flex of the ankle, and that diminishes. Runners lose it and get slower, and very old people, when they walk, they tend to shuffle if they've lost that. And when you shuffle along, there's no flex in the ankle, and it has to do with, for me, the way in which we take the body out of its fluidity, takes it out of relationship with the earth, and we just, over time, become more and more dulled to that relationship. And our connection with the earth eventually becomes so enfeebled that we tend to experience the legs as prosthetics on which we perambulate around. We experience our own legs as mechanics that are without intelligence. And if the intelligence of the legs is deactivated in that way, then we don't attune to the earth, and we're uninformed by what the legs know, so that our expressiveness activates us mainly above the waist, the hands, the face, the nodding of the head, and the legs grow largely dormant. And this shows up in theater. In Western theater, it's all about the waist up. I studied classical Japanese No theater, and the power of the performance is from the waist down. And the feet have this consummate sensitivity to the floor. And that sensitivity radiates through the whole of the body. So all of these ways, and there are more we could talk about, in which we are stunting and compartmentalizing our own fluidity, they take us out of felt relationship with the world. And then when you're out of felt relationship with the world, you're operating on what you know. And your obsession is with the models, your understanding, your ideas and concepts of the world. And that's how you navigate according to your ideas. And there is guidance waiting for you in every moment of the present, if you can surrender to your own fluidity. And I say surrender because you don't have to achieve your own fluidity. It is your nature. You are fluid. Can you feel it? It's not something to achieve. It's something to let go into and to surrender to your own fluidity, to feel it, to feel the eddies and currents of that within your body, to feel the tidal bore of the breath moving through the whole of your being, to feel all the exchanges, like billions of sensational exchanges that cascade through the body. And it's almost a sense of letting all that energy slosh around inside you. Harmony is a disordered state. And we're afraid of disorder because what the head trusts is things in their place, nicely organized in order. There is no order to harmony. You think of a murmuration of starlings, and it is disordered, but it is exquisitely attuned. And for your body to be similarly attuned to the world in which you live, it has to tumble into the disorderliness of its own fluidity. I think that one of the main, for me, the main avenue that allows us to surrender to fluidity is the breath. When the breath encounters a shadow in the body, where anywhere in the body you don't feel the breath, to me it's a little like a sandcastle at the edge of a beach. And the breath is like a wave that can wash up against it and dissolve it back into the body's fluidity. And to allow the breath to migrate through the body. So I feel my breath moving down through my legs to the soles of my feet. And of course it's not the breath. But as the lungs expand, the body has to make room for the expanding lungs. When the body is fluid, that expansion of air in the lungs creates a wave that will travel down through the body, like literally through its fluidity to the soles of the feet, and up through the body to the top of your head, and down through the arms to your fingertips. That breath wave is what invites the body into its fluidity and sustains its fluidity. And so if you're seeking to surrender to that miracle of the body's life and its exchanges, the breath is certainly a very potent way of approaching that.